Hi everyone, this video is for section 7.2, addition and subtraction identities. In this particular case, we're going to prove an identity. We're going to prove that the cosine of a plus b divided by the cosine of a times the cosine of b is equal to 1 minus the tangent of a times the tangent of b. So probably upon initial investigation, you're probably thinking, I have no idea how these two items are connected to each other. And I would agree with you that the first time that we take a look at any kind of problem like this, it always seems daunting and kind of like mystical and magical. How are you going to get from one side to the other? But what I would also kind of say is, in order to figure out how to start proving an identity problem, find something that you think looks familiar to you. Find something that seems like it can link up to some of the identities that you've learned. So in this case, my focus is going to be on the numerator on the left-hand side, that cosine of a plus b. That is part of our sum identity for cosine. So if we were to rewrite that, and I guess before I do that, I'll say that our goal is to get the left-hand side to equal this, since it seems like I'm picking the left-hand side to start all of my work. So I'll know that I'm done when I get my work to look like this guy, and I'm gold starring it because, you know, we want a goal. We're shooting for that gold ring or this gold box with trig stuff written on it. That analogy was terrible, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So what I'm going to go ahead and do first is I'm going to rewrite that cosine of a plus b. I know that that from my identity is going to be the cosine of a times the cosine of b minus the sine of a times the sine of b. Okay? And that's still going to be all over my cosine of a times my cosine of b. And maybe you're thinking, okay, well, great, I've expanded something out. It doesn't really seem to have helped me consolidate anything. And I would agree with you on that. Usually, and you probably heard me say this many times, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's a good motto for life, everyone, so let's just keep plugging away. I'm going to try to get a little bit more creative here, and I'm going to say, well, this is kind of in a shorthand. It looks like this term on the left of the subtraction sign and this term on the right of the subtraction sign, they both have the same denominator. It's cosine of a times cosine of b. So I'm going to break this apart or get rid of the shorthand. So what I'm essentially saying here is I'm going to have the cosine of a times the cosine of b all over the cosine of a times the cosine of b, and maybe you're seeing something might come out from that, minus the sine of a times the sine of b all over the cosine of a times the cosine of b. Well, at this point, take a look at that. It's the same value in the numerator and in the denominator. So that means that this boils down to a 1. What I'm also going to note here is that, well, sine of a over cosine of a, that's the tangent of a, if I were to use my definition. And I'm also going to note, well, sine of b over cosine of b, that's the definition for tangent b. Oh, look. I reached my goal. Yay! That was a lame drawing, everyone, but I wanted to kill a little bit of time since it only took me about 4 minutes to do this. Thanks! If you have any questions, let me know.